emotional intelligence in you. This is my first broadcast. I'm so excited and a bit anxious, which brings me to the topic, which is actually anxiety. The purpose of this video is really to give you a sense of hope and also a practical tool to use to help you when you are suffering from anxiety, when it's overpowering you. So my name is Eddie Grassi, and I'm a relationships life coach in San Francisco, California. And I'm doing a series on anxiety. And this is my first one of the series. I hope that they are going to be instructive and helpful to you. A famous philosopher once said, we're more worried about the things that we imagine than the things that are actually real problems in our life. So I just want to start off with that to illustrate that the anxiety we have is about fears of things that haven't happened yet. And often those fears are the very things we want to avoid, but they're all part of our imagination. That's not to invalidate anyone's anxiety, but that's just part of it. Let me just make sure you understand what I'm saying. I'll give you an example. Dreams. So in dreams, we often have good ones, but we also have ones that can stir up a lot of emotions and fear. We call those nightmares. Well, like anxiety, it can overtake you for a period of time. And when you awake from that, it takes a minute or two sometimes to even adjust back to reality. Sometimes anxiety can be so overpowering that you actually lose control of and consciousness of the moment that you're actually in, because you are in the world of your fears and they're hijacking you. This is my first one of the series. I hope that they are going to be instructive and helpful to you. Let me just start by saying a few things about anxiety itself. The first thing is that I have some good news, and that is that anxiety is highly treatable and even curable. So for those of us thinking that it's something that's here to stay and will never go away, that's not quite true. The research out there is all in support of this idea that we can treat it. And so I'm going to pass on a really practical way that you can even begin to do that. Some anxiety serves a very useful purpose. That purpose is to alert us to danger. So for example, when you're out driving and you hear on the radio or the news that it's a bad day, the weather has brought rain and wind, we all know that taking precautions before we drive, such as putting our seatbelt on, driving slowly, making sure the car is ready to go, those are things we need to do that our anxiety is going to help trigger action. So that's a different type of anxiety that's really helpful to help us justifiably prepare for things that could come up that are real possible risks. Okay. The problem is that with anxiety, though, is not the healthy type. It's the kind where we engage in it too much, where it overtakes us. And what happens is when that happens, we slip away from the present moment. And that present moment is the thing that actually requires of us the most attention and focus of all. So you can see how that can really affect our lives. The other thing about anxiety is that it takes away from the joy of the moment, and it keeps us kind of suspended. We're not able to fully attend to the moment at hand. So it becomes something of a stressor itself. The very thought of anxiety rising up in us, and that becomes a fear, which is compounded by another fear that it's coming up for. So it's sort of a double effect. So I'm here today to just share one real practical tool, and I'm about to get to that, for dealing with anxiety. I mentioned it in the opening. It's called mindfulness approach. This is very different than other things. And this is not yoga or meditation. Those are very useful too. But this approach particularly has a lot of scientific research backing it in support of its results. Basically, it's an awareness we bring to our own thoughts and feelings as they arrive. So if we have an anxious thought coming up, oh, I have a deadline to meet, or, who's that texting me at 11 o'clock, or I have to be somewhere tomorrow. A lot of time things. it's dealing with this in a manner which doesn't make us become so alarmed by it and so controlled by it. And so in dealing it with the approach I'm about to share, this is a way that we bring attention to those things, but we don't hold judgment ourselves. Like, oh my God, why am I feeling this anxiety? What's going on? What's going to happen to me? Oh, my heart rate's already coming up. It's more like, oh, I am feeling anxious. Maybe I don't have to engage in that sweeping power of the anxiety and let it overtake us physically too, physiologically. So it's a way of being open-minded and a way of responding to the thoughts, the fears, the thoughts that arise in our head, and not feel compelled to have to listen to them, act on them, react to them. So here we go. I'm just going to demonstrate this. You're welcome to go along with me in doing it. But the idea here is to bring acceptance. Easier said than done, right? But the only way we do that is through practice. So if you would take an object around you, anywhere around you, a physical object in the room, and just look at the way it is, doing this consciously, right? Your attention is really focused on it. Understand, what does it look like? Okay, so I'm going to just I have a book here in my hand. And I'm noticing here how it feels. It's a little cool. It's soft. It has a cover. It's got some pages in it. And it's right here. And I can feel its weight in my hand. Okay, so I'm accepting its existence as it is. I'm not trying to change it. I'm not trying to form an opinion about this book, although it has a title and I've read this book before. I could look at other things and I can drift away from being centered on its existence only as an object with tangible properties. So I can see there's words on it. I don't need to read those words. I can see the title and so forth. And I'm accepting it as it is. Okay. Now things may come up from me when I look at this. This happens to be a book that I really like. There's other things about this book that I could say that might be interesting to think about, but I'm trying to just accept it as it is. Okay. So if we're doing this exercise, the ideal way at home is where you have a place of quiet. You could be on your own, and you want to breathe. You can even close your eyes and imagine that existence there of that book. You don't even have to look at it. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do is kind of shift to yourself from the object in your room, whatever that is, and see if you can bring that same sense of acceptance to you yourself as a living, breathing person. And it's not going to feel magical or even maybe feel like it's working in this moment because I'm doing a video. But if you keep practicing this, it can work. So the idea is to accept that you are physically here. You're alive and breathing. You can feel your breaths coming in. You can do some breathing with that, closing your eyes. And as soon as some thoughts come up, if they do, that's okay. Like, when is this going to end? Am I doing it correctly? Oh, I'm thinking of something else. All of that's okay. We want to do that without judgment. So the idea is to start to bring about a shift in the way we think about and react to our own anxiety. It's basically forming a whole new relationship to it. So that was a really quick version of the exercise. At another time, perhaps in another video, I might do a full exercise of it. And I want to thank you for joining tonight. And if you have any comments, I want to just welcome you to, or questions, add those into the chat. And if you feel like commenting in the description of the video, I would love that. I would love to hear from you. So please stay tuned for the next one. I'm planning on doing one per week, one anxiety practice to alleviate and take away and reduce that anxiety so that you can be more and more fully aware and choose to be present with whatever our very crazy world brings to us, the good and the bad. All right. Good night, everyone. See you next time. Bye-bye.